Hello, this is Catherine from the Homestead Academy, and this video is my wrap-up and review of the 2013 through 2014 school year for my son. He just finished the 6th grade, and I'm just going to walk you through what we used. So for grammar and language arts, basically, one of the things we used is Life of Fred, who most of the homeschool world knows as a math curriculum. Came out this year with a language arts set. There are 4 books in the series, and we've been kind of just working through the first one together, just kind of for fun. It's a very conversational storybook way of teaching grammar. There's a chapter that you read. The story follows Fred, who is a 5-year-old who teaches math at a university. So you have to kind of use your imagination a little bit. It took my son a little bit to go past that. And at the end of each chapter, there are questions that you do called on your own, your turn to play. And just little review questions. And then when you turn the page, there are the answers. So we've been reading this together. He really likes it. I like it. It's very simplistic, but very thorough. The other thing he did this year were language lessons for the elementary child. And this is a Charlotte Mason language course, very informal. Again, very relaxed, as is the Charlotte Mason way. To be honest, he didn't really like this. He felt that it was a little bit too easy for him, and so he finished it, but we will not be continuing this for next year. I've actually found something else for him that I think he'll like a little bit more. And when I get all of their curriculum in for the next school year, I will do a video on what we'll be using for 2014-2015. For vocabulary, we used Wordly Wise 3000, book 6. He did it. It's a workbook style. You start, the first day, you start with your word list and meanings, circling the letter, if you can see that. Then you pick the words, you apply meanings, do a word study, read a passage for reading comprehension. He did it. He didn't enjoy it. And I really didn't push him really hard on this either, to be honest, just because he didn't like it and fought me with it. For writing, we did Teaching Writing, Structure and Style, Student Writing Intensive, Group B, from the from Excellence in Writing, Institute for Excellence in Writing. I love this program. I love it, I love it, I love it. My daughter, who just finished 10th grade, did it, and she loved it. This is my first year with this was my first year with the 6th grader being homeschooled, and I think homeschooling was so much different than he thought it was going to be after being in public school for 6 years, that, I think it was just, some of it was overwhelming, some of it was underwhelming, and we just kind of found our way through this year. He did most of this. And then I just gave up because he just wasn't enjoying it. I think he found it a little overwhelming. There was a lot of information. My mistake was having him do it with his older sister, just because I was trying to save time. That probably was not the best idea. So, he didn't really get out of it what he could have gotten out of it. He learned a lot, but he didn't learn what he could have. For poetry, We did Sunlight's, for history, we did Sunlight's American History Core D and E. It's a combined core, and this was their selection for poetry. He enjoyed it. He likes poems. I think he's ready for something that doesn't, I think it bothered him that it said children's poems. He was doing American history, so that's tied in well with that. But next year, I think he's going to move on to more complicated poems, or poems at least that don't have children in the title. This was something, and I'll get to his books in just a minute, but he did he read a lot of books this year. I have to say I'm really proud of him. He's not someone who enjoys sitting down and reading. So I was very proud of him for reading the number of books he read this year with really very little complaint. So we kind of just went through his book list and ahead of time and picked out which books he was going to do book reports on. And he did a book report on probably a third of the books he read. The rest of the books we did narration, where I would verbally ask him questions and he would answer. So the books, and again we did Sunlight Intro to American History Cores D and E. These are not in the order that we read them. I just grabbed them out of the schoolroom. But these are the books he and I read together. He's 12, and I was surprised at how much he looked forward to our time alone, where we just sat on the couch or cuddled up in bed and read together. So we read a lot of books together. These are not all the books we read together, because I read quite a few books together with him and his sister. But Johnny Tremain, he loved. Walk the World's Rim, he loved. Moccasin Trail, Across 5 Aprils, The Witch at Blackbird Pond. I was so excited to read this with him. It's won all these awards. Everybody I know loves this book. I read the reviews. Everybody they just love and love and love this book. We actually didn't finish it because he hated it so much. He was so bored by it. So we stopped it probably about halfway through. So we don't know how it ended. Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, a very good book. Carry On, Mr. Bowditch. This was awesome. He absolutely loved this book. These are the books that he read independently. And again, this was part of the Sunlight Core D and E. So he read, some of them were really small. And the thing with Sunlight is some of the books they recommend seem very childish and below grade level, and they are, but they have really good information. They're living books, so you really get to see, you get to hear in your mind the tone of the time period and what the people may have been wearing, what they would have talked like, what they were interested in. And so even though some of the books were a little bit below his reading level, below his grade level, he still got stuff out of them, and it was worth reading. So these were just, just a whole bunch of books that he read. Some of these were not in the Sunlight book. I already had a biography on Thomas Edison. I already had a biography on Helen Keller. It's not the ones, these weren't the ones that were recommended in the Sunlight list, but I already had them, so I didn't get the ones that they recommended. But anyway, there's a lot of, a great story of Harriet Tubman, the Freedom Train. He loved that. So anyway, just a lot of really good books. So again, we use Sunlight Intro to American History, Core D and E. This is not the binder it comes in. I already had this binder, and I like it better, so I put everything in here. So Sunlight combines their history and literature. So, for example, let me get to week 2. You have a schedule. We do not do a lot of the sunlights, we don't do the Bible. I did a different program with them for Bible. We do the history, we do the geography, we do the readers and the read alouds, and that's what we do. So you can see that it has a place for you to, like he started out reading Pedro's journal. It tells which chapters he's supposed to read each day. You can see my arrows because I move things along, because we actually I did something together with the two of them for American history, and so I changed the schedule a little bit so we could fit everything in. Also, you can see here Kids Discover America 1492. Throughout the year, I bought these magazines from Kids Discover. You can get a subscription, or you can actually go onto the website and pick out individual titles of past magazines, which is what I did. And so this one happened to be America 1492. And then also on their website, they have reading comprehension packets that they can do. So he did a number of those throughout the year as they corresponded to what he was learning about. Jackie Robinson, this is a movie he watched, 42, when he was reading In the Year of the Boar and Jackie Robinson and learning about him. There was also a Kids Discover magazine about him. Here's another, Underground Railroad. He did a lot of these. Our Sunlight core that we got last year. I know they have now changed it for the 2014-2015 school year. So I don't think these books are part of that anymore. But there were a series of 4 called The Story of the USA. And basically it is reading comprehension. Read a little story, answer some questions. And so there were 4 of those. And then the other book that came with it was The Landmark History of the American People, From Plymouth to the Moon. This book was interesting as far as it being a history book because it really told the story of America from the perspective of how America was built. The inventions, the technology, the machines, all of the stuff that made America what it is today, the people behind all those things. This tied in really well with his science, which I'll talk about in a second. And this book we read together. I think it was really assigned, I can't remember, I think it was assigned for him to read on his own, but I liked it so much that we read it together. Something else we did was, and this was not part of Sunlight, this is something I added in, was this book called The Constitution Translated for Kids by Kathy Travis. And I'm a firm believer, both of the kids read the Constitution this year. I'm a firm believer in them knowing what is in that and what it means for them. Okay, for math, we did teaching textbooks, level 7. I hear, teaching textbooks was written by a couple of guys from Harvard, written for the homeschool community. I love it. My daughter, when we homeschooled her before, started out with this, and she loved it. I've heard the negative reviews in the younger grades that it's a little behind, like the Saxon math program. And that may be true. She did Algebra 2 this year. She's doing Geometry next year. I think in the older grades that all catches up. My son is in 6th grade. He did Math 7. He'll do pre-algebra next year. And this is a great math program for homeschooling moms. It's done independently. He watches a video that explains the lesson. He does the work. He enters his answers into the computer. The computer grades it, grades his test. Everything is right there. I can look at it anytime I want. So I really like this math program. Okay, for science, I'll do this big box first. This was something I got around Christmas time for them, just to kind of mess with. He really, really likes it. It was on Amazon. It was far cheaper than retail price. And it's Snap Circuits Extreme, build over 750 exciting projects. And when you open this bad boy up, let's see here, you have all the manuals for all the different, like here are projects 102 through 305. And they're all the manuals. It's a little solar panel and stuff. And then underneath that tray are all the components. And they all, this is, I don't know if you can see that, this is the board they all snap into for each experiment. And then here are all the components. And the books go through the different projects and explain it. This is great for STEM kids who, you know, he just really likes the whole science and math and that kind of stuff, and so he gets excited about this kind of stuff. He did not do all 750 experiments. This is not a an actual assignment. I don't assign him certain projects he has to do. This is something he's assigned to do in his, when he has some extra time, you know, he has to work on it. I think I have him down working on it like 2 days a week. He does like a half an hour or so with it. So for science, 6th grade, he's not into high school yet. He's not into where they're really paying attention to what they're learning in science. So I asked him what he wanted to learn for science, and he wanted to learn all about inventors and scientists and kind of who they were, what they invented, and then he just wanted to mess with inventions and science experiments and just kind of mess around. And so that's what we did. It was very relaxed. He learned a lot. He had fun, and that was more important to me than us following a store-bought, planned-out curriculum. So he read the invention book. This is a DK Eyewitness Books thing, full of pictures and little bites of information. Great Scientist, same deal. Little mini biographies on different scientists. Aristotle, all the way, let's see, Galileo, William Harvey, Isaac Newton, all the way through. Then he read a series. These are by Mike Venezia, Getting to Know the World's Greatest Inventors and Scientists. And so these are just, again, these are kind of childish, I think, but they were just easy little mini biographies to read to learn more about those scientists. So he read a lot of those. Stephen Hawking, Mary Lee, people I hadn't heard of too, and so that was good for him. Yeah, I've heard of most of them, but a couple of them I didn't know, and so it was interesting to find out about them. And then this is just a sampling of some of the biographies he read. We checked books out from the library, which I don't have now because I returned them. But some of them would have been things like this, like Benjamin Franklin, Marie Curie, and other inventors and scientists. And then this was a book I really liked, and I can't remember. I saw this on a YouTube video. I want to say it was Mahogany Homemaker, but I'm not 100% sure. But it's called What Color Is My World? And it's the lost history of African American inventors, written by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. This is something, these are people I did not learn about, to be honest. I learned about Einstein, I learned about Isaac Newton, I learned about all those. I did not learn about African American inventors and scientists, and this was a great little book to kind of highlight some of the people who contributed to the great things we use now and things we really can't live without. For labs or for science experiments, these were kits that you can get. Open this up. It's a monthly subscription. But I actually called the company and just asked for sets of them and not do the monthly subscription. And oh man, here it is, the Young Scientists Club. There you go. And each kit comes completely with everything you need. This one was on polymers. Actually, it doesn't come with everything you need. You know, some of the stuff you need is like a mug, cornstarch, water, a bowl, food coloring, things that you would have around the house. And then the kit comes with everything else that you would need for that experiment. I mean, they put glue in here, the little styrofoam peanuts, all the little components to do the labs, or experiments, sorry. And sometimes there are 3 experiments. This one had 5 experiments. Some of the experiments were really, really kid-like, very childish, way below what he could be doing. And then other ones were really fascinating, and he learned stuff. So we kind of just went through them, and I let him choose which ones he wanted to do. For extra stuff, I did not have him do these things every day. These were every week or so. I would give him an assignment, a number of pages he had to do. So this is a Time for Kids nonfiction comprehension test practice. In our state, he does have to take a standardized test at the end of the year. And so this is just to make sure he's familiar with those kind of tests. And this is really just reading comprehension kind of stuff. Same thing with this, document-based questions for reading comprehension and critical thinking. Again, these were just little things that he did just occasionally. This was not something I really pushed, but just to give him some practice. This came from Knotgrass. He loves the Olympics. He loves especially track and field and that kind of cross-country running and stuff. So anyway, I found this on Knotgrass. It's a Bible study woven in with a history of the Olympic Games, and it has all kinds of information and then little puzzles and games and stuff to do. And it's kind of, yeah, there's some Bible stuff woven into there, not overwhelmingly so. It's mostly just about the games. So, survival, this was something he wanted to do, to learn about. I think his dream is for me to drop him off in the middle of the woods somewhere and leave him and see if he can live on his own with, you know, nothing more than a toothbrush and a Band-Aid. So anyway, I told him that before I would do that with him, that he would have to learn how to live on his own. So he has not finished this book by any means. He's just slowly working through it. And again, this is just something that he wanted to do for fun, kind of. So I assign him pages to read, but it's, you know, it's not a pressure situation. So anyway, let me think what else. For PE, he takes Taekwondo and Kendo at a local martial arts place. It's a monthly deal. I pay by the month, and he has to go to make it worthwhile. They say he has to go a minimum of 2 days a week, kind of for his commitment. He actually goes 5 days a week, sometimes 6, just because he loves it so much. For music, he takes percussion lessons at a local music studio, music school. And he's in a little kid rock band that plays occasionally. And then we also belong to a Friday school homeschool co-op, and he does the percussion for the praise band for that. His other electives and the other stuff he does, I will show you in a separate video when I do a video on what we do together as a family, the things I do with him and his sister who just finished 10th grade. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, just put them in the comments below and I will answer them. Thank you. Bye.